Thank you. What's going on here? All right, I think we're ready to go. We would like to welcome all of you to our Iron County Commission meeting this Monday, the 24th day of March, 2025, and appreciate your attendance. We'll begin this morning with a prayer offered by Joseph Moore, and following that, we'll have a pledge led by Lucas Little.
Our dear Father in heaven, we are so very grateful for this beautiful day that was blessed us with and this beautiful area which we live in. We are so very grateful for our country and the freedoms and the government we have, that we may be able to do what we are doing here today and gather together to discuss the needs of our county. We pray that thy Spirit will be here and will be with each and every one of us, and the words that will be spoken will be understood as they are meant, and that we all understand that we are here for the betterment of our county here, and that again we are so very grateful for those things that thou blesses with each and every day, and we say these things in the name of thy Son Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Would you all please rise and follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We will go ahead and look at approving our minutes. What was the date on those?
March 10th.
For March 10th. I'll entertain a motion if there's no discussion.
I'd move for approval of the March 10th, 2025 minutes.
Second that.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And then motion for paying the bills for March 10th through March 23rd.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Checks in the mail, right? All right. We'll go ahead and go to our departmental reports. We'll start with our auditor, Lucas Little.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, so from the Iron County Auditor's Office, I just wanted to report on a few different things that's been happening the last couple months, and then what's coming up in the future few months. So the last few months, we have been following the legislature. There were over 900 bills in total, and it makes it very difficult to catch all the ones that affect counties and understand what's being proposed in the bills when there's that many. But I want to address one bill in particular. It was SB 197. This bill will affect many residents in Iron County that apply for a property tax abatement through the Iron County Auditor's Office. Every year we send out applications to individuals that qualify for this program, the ones that were on it the year before, and they qualify by making less than a specific amount in a given year. In 2024, it was just above $40,000. If they are 65 or older and make under the income limit, they qualify for the circuit breaker abatement program, which covers some or all of their property taxes. And then the state will reimburse us that amount. This new bill prohibits anyone new from getting the circuit breaker application after this year. Those that were on the program in 2024 or will be in 2025 are able to continue receiving the abatement, but after this year there will be no new people allowed. If you know anyone that has or may qualify for this program, please have them reach out to my office, the auditor's office. This year so that they can get on the program this final year while it's still available. And then I also want to thank Senator Vickers. He was our only representative that voted against this bill. Unfortunately, it still passed. It will also affect the people that are currently on it. Before they could get a county abatement and the circuit breaker. And this bill, the last version, it came out the last day, so we didn't even know about it till right at the end. It will only let them have one or the other, where before they could have both. So instead of covering up to all of their property taxes, it's only going to cover maybe half or a smaller portion. So we're going to be trying to notify everyone, letting them know so that they can plan for next year. If it's not going to cover all their taxes, they can save up for that. But anybody new, especially want to get them on the program this year. So
How many county residents do we have participating in that?
300 to 400.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's Senator McKay's bill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are. We have sent letters and reached out to the governor's office. He can veto it, I think, by the end of this week. So I guess there is some hope there. It's statewide. There's a lot of people reaching out to them about that. But
Is it veto proof though, or I mean, how many voted for it in the?
I think it only passed by one.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it didn't pass by
I think in the House, I think it was around 10 votes in the House. and the Senate, probably similar. Like,
So
it wasn't a
was close then.
landslide.
Yeah, it was close.
So
That's gonna be hard on some people. That's too bad. That's
So
yeah,
does
it's
that
going to
number-
be.
Has that number fluctuated in your time as the
I mean,
auditor?
I think it's increased some every year. I mean, usually when people pass away, they'll go off of it, but every year we get quite a few new people adding on to it. Probably anywhere from 20 to 30 the last couple years.
Was
yeah,
it a different bill that where they could take and not pay those taxes, but it would go into an account where when they passed away and the kids inherited the home, that they would then have to pay that. Is
So
that the same bill or is that different?
Same bill.
That's same bill.
So now, instead of getting this abatement, they could defer their taxes,
That's the way it
But-
is. Thanks.
but it's a small portion.
Oh,
Like,
it's not the whole.
No.
Okay.
So it looks at what their taxes were. Say their taxes were $2,000 before they deferred them that year before. So they could only defer like above either 50% or 75%. So they would have to still pay. They could only defer $1,000 worth. They'd still have to pay all the rest.
And then the heirs, when they assume the property,
Yeah.
would have to pay that.
Yep. Once they sell the house eventually, then that lien.
But if they didn't sell the house and
Come
kept it,
due.
they'd have to pay that bill then. At that
Right.
point. Okay.
That, or they become ineligible the next year for a deferral, then it would become due. And then we would have to put a lien on the property and track how much they've deferred over the years and show that on the tax bill. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens and if people want to do that or not.
As you followed that bill, what was his motive to run that bill, do you think?
So, I don't know, Senator McKay, he basically said there's a lot of older residents in bigger homes living alone, and he basically said they need to sell their home and downsize. And he mentioned also in his presentation, he said the abatement program was started to help people from losing their homes. And I wanted to say, well, now you're going to help people start losing their homes again by taking it away. So hopefully it gets vetoed, but we'll try to help all we can. But
Okay.
other things, we are working on closing out the financial records for the county's year end. We still have some payments and receipts processing from last year before we have everything ready for the county audit. And the audit this year will be on May 5th. A few other things we have going on this time of year is processing property tax exemption applications. These are for religious or charitable organizations, and Michaela will report on that later today. We're also working with the treasurer's office right now to get ready for the annual tax sale, which will be on May 22nd. I think we have around 80 something properties at this moment. I also wanted to report on the sales tax. This was implemented for funding the new sheriff's complex. So since the sales tax took effect in July of 2024, we have collected $2,328,530.03 through the end of February. These funds are going into the county budget under fund number 30, which is the combined debt service fund. So we're setting them aside there. And the money is sitting in this fund until the bond payments are due, which will then be paid from this same fund. And we actually had our first payment due just last week. We made that payment. It was $1,993,511. So that leaves a balance of $335,000 that will stay in that fund and go towards our next payment that's due in September. So, any questions for me?
So is that level higher or lower than was anticipated from that tax?
We had a few months that were higher, a few months that were lower, some that were right on. So I think we're overall sitting a little bit higher. But any excess is just sitting in that fund to be paid in the future. So our bond payment each year increases about 2%.
Okay.
So that increase in that sales tax will be for that. So, okay.
Thank you, Luke.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, we'll go to our building and zoning. Terry Palmer, how are you?
Yeah, we're live.
That's a good thing.
I'm later than I should have been to get these out sooner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I should have had them sooner so you could have looked at it just a little bit. But we did change a little bit of the format, how we were going to do this as before. Again, good morning, Commissioners. Good to be here. To start off, as an overview, as of March 21st, we've issued 118 permits this year compared to 111 last year. So we're up just a little bit over that. 30 new building permits for housing, down a little bit over last year. But also we've issued 7 commercial projects this year. So we've changed just a little bit which way we went on that one. So we are still busy. We'll get into a couple more numbers there. We got Nate working on his commercial plumbing and mechanical still. Chelsea just passed her residential plumbing last week. She was working on her mechanical now. Trent will be taking his commercial or his residential plumbing, residential building inspector. Hopefully this week is what his plans are there. To get some more online to help there. As far as plan reviews, we've done 135 project reviews this year compared to 104 last year. So we're up 30 plus from last year on plan reviews. So we're having a busy year so far just in reviews, getting out there. We've completed 674 in stops and inspections, and some of those are 4 ways and more. So we're probably close to 1,500 inspections or more up to this point for that, but 674 inspection stops this year so far. We've brought in at this point $226,088 with permits and projects so far this year. We have some major projects coming in. We've got the one Terrible's gas station that has broke ground and started pouring foundation work here in Parowan. We got another Terrible's on the south end and Maverick. The Maverick has their annexation into Parowan completed and final. We got all their plan review notes taken care of, so they will be submitting plans or a permit hopefully in the next month to start the Maverick, and then Terrible's is in right behind them to start on the south end too.
Oh,
so
that Maverick going on the west side of the freeway?
West side of the freeway is where Maverick will be
West
going.
of
West of
KB, or the old KB?
yeah.
Right.
Well, they'll be on the north side of
The
200.
north interchange.
Yeah, north side on the west side of the freeway.
Across from TA or?
No. On the south interchange.
South interchange.
Out across from Rick Anderson's State Line Equipment.
Across from
They
KB.
annexed that whole corner in.
Okay.
So they had biggest issue there's right now is finalizing the details with DOT on that interchange, because they're going to have to redesign that interchange for all the commercial and all the work that's coming in on that end of town. So that's their big holdup right now, is getting all the final, and they've pretty much got that finalized. Now they're getting all the signatures with DOT to get that work going on that too. So the south interchange in Parowan's going to see some closers. Not sure timeline on that, but that's going to go in for the Maverick on their building there. So we've got those two gas stations going over there. Commerce Crossroads, the BZI project out by going towards the landfill in Iron Springs. We've got 2 tenant improvement finishes they're working on now inside that big building that's done. Other projects that we're looking at, they're hoping to get things in place and started by the end of the year is a data center. Reed is working on a proposed ordinance change to get the definition and the use listed for a data center. Reed and Rich, I think Rich was involved last week. They did a site visit out north on the north end of Lund Highway to cover, they want about 2,000 acres of land. And this is a 10-year build-out project with over $50 billion. So it's a big project we're trying to work in, and they were hoping to get started by the end of the year on that first phase of that one. So that will be a big project for a data center there.
Where's that going?
They're trying to, originally they had looked at Horse Hollow Road and Lund Highway, but now they're looking out a little bit further where they can get some more land closer to that big major gas line and the power lines out there. So we're not sure yet. They're still working on the contracts with landowners, and they reached out last week to a couple different landowners out there.
Talked to Frank Nichols a little bit about that. Historically, data centers have used a lot of water for cooling, but I guess they've improved that a lot, so they don't have to use a lot of water.
Technology has improved a lot, so the water is minimal now.
That's good.
We're talking more redundant power use and export of and import of information. So 3 or 4 sources of power and fiber going in and out. So that's why they're looking out there or a little bit further out, is to get closer to the gas and the power lines out there. Give them some more power, some more land, so they can put their own power planned on, solar generators, that type of stuff, to get the power what they need. But yeah, their water consumption now is down considerable from what they used to be because of the technology of the silicone chips and stuff that they use to run their data stuff through. So the water there is down on that, so usage there is not much. But the build out is a 10-year build out project. A lot of money going to go into that, and they're pretty serious right now on that one. BZI office complex, I talked with Drake from BZI 2 weeks ago. They are hoping to have plans into me. They were about 95% drawn then, and he's hoping to have plans into me in the next week or two, so we can start reviewing that. And they're hoping to break late summer, early summer right in there on their new office complex. We got 2 large solar projects going in. The Fremont out here northwest of Paraguna. We issued that CUP 10 years ago. And now they're finally getting funding and project going for that one. That is a 100 megawatt AC site out on the west behind the dairy out there on the Buckhorn Flat. In fact, I reviewed a site plan for their road design this morning to let them know that they were good for what they wanted to do on roads inside their site. So we've got that one, and then Appaloosa was hoping to start their phase 2 out there on Lund Highway also. Ampac, WECO, whatever we call them now, they are going to do a planned expansion to expand it 1/3 more the size they've got. They've got two lines on, and they want to add a 3rd complete line for their production. So that will start as almost immediately. We met with them 2 weeks ago. We had a Zoom call with them to get some stuff together. We'll be doing a sketch meeting in 2 weeks with them to finalize all of that. The fire department has met on site with them to go through and work out all details with them. So we're on track for Ampac to do a big production line increase out there. Fabian is still looking good. We're about 95%. They had a power study done 2 months ago to get the power. Part of the power they need, they're looking at a $16 million plus power, just a substation power plant for them to come in. But right now, talking to Drake at the same time, he says we're really the only one they're looking at this point still. And I don't know if Commissioner Blake's heard anything yet on
Just
that
the
one.
same.
Same stuff still.
Yeah, same information.
So it's still looking good for the Fabian project. That will be a big project. We can get that to come in. Code enforcement. Trent has been very active right now, working a lot with Sam, trying to get things tightened up as to how we work with the violations there. He's issued 42 violation letters so far this year. And most of that has happened down on Lund Highway. I took Commissioner Blake for a field trip a couple weeks ago, and it was eye-opening for Mike to see what we had out there because we've got a lot of stuff that keeps coming in, which will come into one of my next issues right here. The last page that I handed out in this packet was a notice of county ordinance that we would like to post through some of these areas, talking about our nuisance. A nuisance used for land for living, keeping of animals, and commercial activities without permitted dwellings or permanent water and sewer. We're having a lot of issues, and you guys, as commissioner, were great to work with the public on the travel trailers and that ordinance there. But I would like to see if we could sit down and visit on that again, because we're having a lot of problems with nuisance and garbage and junk coming in. So I know I don't want to go too much into it now, but I would like to sit down and see if we can visit that again. Maybe we can work on that and tweak that just a little bit to help, because when this group come in on the data center and rode out there on Lund Highway, they were shocked to see what we have out there. And Trent has spent a lot of time trying to work with people, even those coming with travel trailers, to work with them to make them legal, to get septic and water and that type of stuff, to get things cleaned up. It's getting hard to keep up with what we've got. But I'd like to visit, and we feel that is part of it, is with travel trailers. And we know that there's still concerns with income and people and stuff, but we would like to see if we can visit with that and maybe talk about that a little bit. And I know, Paul, you were great to work with that to help them, but I would see if we could maybe visit that just a little bit to see if we can tweak a few things on that one. Right now, our budget, we're looking good so far. I hope so. The auditor was just here, but I've got a couple more things we're going to have to look at real serious. Hopefully we can get through the year on it. The roof here on this building is leaking, starting to get more leaks as we go, where we did not do anything with it with.
Did they not fix the roof when they remodeled this one?
Nope. They did not. That was another thing that we talked about with previous commissioners that they did not do on their building, is this roof has been on here as long as the building's been here, and we're starting to get where it is starting to leak more and more. So Thane and Landon right now are just patching to keep it patched to try to get it through this year, and then we'll talk more budget time if we can get it that far to look at what we need to do next year. It's got a different roof on it. It's a foam sprayed roof with a paint covering on it. I don't know what we're gonna do with it because it's interesting up there.
Where are we at with the elevator?
The elevator, we signed a contract to get that started in line. They are about 3 months out, but they've come down last week, started measuring all the signs, all the stuff they needed to start ordering out. So we're in the process to get that going now, but we're out about 3 months from start. That will take them about 45 to 60 days, they think, to get it
A
complete.
Band-Aid, or is it a pretty major repair?
This is a major repair. We're at $200 and something thousand. This is a pretty major repair.
It'll last for pretty good.
I'm hoping we'll last 15 plus years.
Okay, good.
So this one should be a pretty good fix. It's pretty much an overhaul of everything that we've got in there to make it meet standards, state law, and everything. So at this price, we could have got it cheaper when previous commissioners, when we remodeled, but I'm hoping at this point that this is more of a repair fix to hold us 10 to 15, 20 years. And they seem to think that it will, because it's a rebuild of most of the stuff in there now. So there's that. Public safety roof, we don't know what we're doing with there. It's starting to leak in spots. That building's only 8 years old. We've got 9 years on that roof from when they first put it on, when it was under construction. We don't know what's going on with the roofing material. We can't get Stout Roofing up here to look at it. The original installers, Carter Brothers, they're not no help to get us out there because we're past the warranty time. But we've had a couple different companies come and look at it to try to give us ideas to look at it, to evaluate it. We can't figure out what's going on with why it's failing so quick. At only 9 years.
What kind of roof is on that building?
It's a TPO, that thermoplastic white PVC looking roof. So we're not sure what's going on with it. But Thane and them, they've talked to a couple roofers there. We've had them out there looking at it. We've repaired a few spots. They had one last week that they repaired. It's hopefully patched and taken care of now. So we're just kind of chasing a little bit to see where we're at. And then come towards the end of the year, we'll just have to get somebody else to do a reevaluation and give us some estimates of what they think needs to be done with that one. Also, at the public safety, we had back in December, we patched 4 conduits. Luke? I think it was in December we found 4 broken conduits. Well, this week we found another one. We have a river coming into that generator. Into our generator sub-panel at the public safety building, we have a river coming in. We think the fencing contractor that put the fence around the tower, their cell tower, communications tower, drilled through one of our conduits.
Oh, boy.
So Thane pulled out one of the poles for the fence, and we'll be digging it out the next day or two to see if we can find it. It was bad enough leak now that we found a dead rat, a mouse, in the generator panel.
Oh, boy.
So that's another one that's going to have to be fixed. Hopefully it'll...
They hit the wires inside the conduit?
No, not the wires. We think they just hit the conduit and broke the conduit bad enough
Is it plastic? Is it a
Yeah,
plastic
it's a
PVC?
plastic conduit underground. Yeah. So we got Thane digging that up to see if we can find out what's going on with that, because it's got more water coming into it. It was a river with all the rain that we had and the moisture that we had this last week. So we still got a generator sub panel. It was running for 3 hours. We're not sure what happened, if it shorted something to turn it on. So we had the electrician looking at it with us last week to see what we can do. And then hopefully we'll find out and see what it's going to take there. But that one's got to be fixed. We know the last one was about $10,000 to fix for. We're hoping this one will only be a couple thousand to repair this one, but it's going to have to be done under an emergency, unfortunately. So we have to keep power in for 911
This is the
dispatch.
generator we moved to
Yeah.
for the noise issue.
Yes, and it's been really good. They haven't complained. They says where we put it out there on that other side of that parking lot has been fabulous, and they do appreciate that.
Know about that. So they had a generator when they built that building. They had it right next to the 911.
Yeah,
call
about 5 feet from the
center.
windows into the
It was
911.
noisy, so we moved it away from the building to try to reduce that noise for them.
And this water leak isn't from the move, unfortunately. It's just been time that now it's all just settled, and we're starting to see more of it with the moisture that's come down. So with dispatch, we've got to have the power that comes on 30 seconds or less after power outage. So it was getting noisy, and we have to cycle it once a week, and Saturday afternoon it was noisy. So
But the generator's down now then?
No.
Or it is working.
it's working. It's
It
working.
needs some repairs.
It needs conduit repair to figure out to keep water out of the transfer
It
switch.
didn't damage the generator then?
No.
Okay.
From what we can tell, it did not damage anything. Marshall and Evans is who our electrician is. We're not sure. He's not sure why it shorted out to come on, to have it turn on when it did. But apparently water come across and hit something just right to short it out to make it think that they lost power and it come on. But it's still operating and stuff, so that's why we're jumping on it to get that conduit fixed to figure out where we're at with it. Budget's good. Reed's been busy. You've seen him a lot, so I think that's it. We're still getting some complaints. Nuisance. We've tried to keep the building maintenance down. Thane and Landon's been busy trying to keep everybody going, trying to help all the other buildings. He's done quite a bit with our senior centers, both in Cedar and Parowan, to keep them up and operating. Hasn't done much with CJC where it's a new building, but he's done a couple things out there to help them. Just trying to keep the buildings up and going. We've had a couple water heaters at the visitor center go out that are $2,000 a shot. So 2 of them this year. They're 25 years old, so we're starting to see stuff go out, part of the normal wear, but that one threw us for a loop for that much for 2 of them in 2 weeks. So, but I think that's where we're at with all of my stuff.
Everybody loving that new parking lot up there, your building?
Our building, we love that new parking lot.
nice.
Everybody loves that. It's good. And going through the winter, the little bit that we've had, we find out that it's working better coming
Draining
in
good.
with that lower part, that lower driveway entered in, and that new drainage. It's working out really good.
Nice.
So I think that was probably the best investment you gentlemen put in for the money. So yeah, no, it's working out good.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Anything I need to work on? I'll take Mike on some more field trips and get him aware of what's out and
I
about.
like Terry's field trips.
I took him for a field trip for a half an hour, and 4 hours later, we ended up at lunch. He says, we can't do this all morning without a lunch, so we went to lunch.
It's like, oh, and let's look at this, and let's look at this. No, I enjoy my field trips with Larry.
With Larry, thanks.
Well, or Terry. Where did that come from?
I don't, you know where it come from. You chased around with him, too, so.
I know, but I haven't mixed you people up in 40 years.
I know, and I've got Paul straightened out. Paul's been great.
Almost trained.
I do have a twin brother that
know.
looks just like me. So
Yep,
if
I've
you
dealt
start
with
calling
him
me
too.
Larry, I'm not going to get offended. I will say that's great. I'm Terry today.
Yeah.
No, thank you for everything you guys do. We do appreciate it. We do get a lot of support, and I do help that. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will go to, let's see where we at. Engineer. Rich.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for taking the time to hear our report this morning. So, excuse me. So we've had quite a few things going on in the last quarter. So let's just bring some of them up to speed. You're aware of several of them. We made a selection for the consultant on the fairground master plan, the 25-year master plan. We met with them Zoom meeting Friday, and we are having a formal meeting here in this building. They will come down to retour the site. We're going to have Jamie lead that discussion as she's over the fairground, but that's on Wednesday. I'll let you know, Commissioner Robinson, when that actually is, and we'd love to have you there.
Thought I had the time of that.
I think we sent you an invitation, but I want to make sure you're present. I think this is going to turn out to be a good pre-planning meeting for the future of the fairgrounds. Pardon me?
I had 2:00.
Sounds right to me on Wednesday. Yeah. All right. So that's moving forward. As you know, our operator Garrett left us for a job closer to home up in Richfield. And so our interviews are tomorrow to backfill that position for an operator in the county in the engineering department. This last 3 months, we put in that large culvert with the contacts and the help of Commissioner Cousins. We put in that 800 South culvert there by the transfer station.
It's really good. I went out and looked at it.
It's a lot better crossing than it was before for everybody involved. A lot bigger pipe than was there previously.
And if we hire somebody new, can we get them out there to clean that? Just touch those ditches up, make sure they're
What I've reached out to
before the monsoons come.
I've reached out to Ryan Riddle's replacement. I'd like to burn it first.
Oh, good. Okay.
Burn that ditch, because I think that would be a better solution. Our problem with we've talked about a lot of different things. One was to have a mower on the end of a small mini axe. We have the mini axe, but the more I've thought about it, we don't have a lot of places we'd mow. So I'm not sure it's a very good investment. Whereas if we have a controlled burn, it worked. It's worked for farmers for
There's a
100
gas line
years.
right under there, right? How deep's that gas line below that ditch? There's a gas line running right under that.
I don't think we'll
Be careful.
get it hot enough to heat
I
the
know.
gas
I know.
line. It's about a foot deep.
All right.
It's pretty close. Last commission meeting, George Colson was in here and talked about the application for mitigation of flooding, and that location. Just to follow up, I meant to let you know, Commissioner Cousins, that's the one on 4800 over there by Peakview. We're trying to acquire that property and put in a large retention pond that would catch the water that would come off of those subdivisions that come down the old Stevensville ditch and then pile up there across 4800. So, but I wanted to report that the state has accepted that application and passed it on to the federal partners who will actually provide the funding. So we successfully made one hurdle. Now we're on to the next hurdle of seeing if it will be actually funded. So Safe Roads for All, that's been an ongoing project with Kimley Horn. They're just about done. I'm going to give you a heads up. They will be here at our next meeting with the final proposal for solution. And what that means is they will be asking, or we will be asking the commission to adopt the plan for Safe Streets for All, which will allow us, it has to be legislatively adopted so that we can apply for implementation funding. Now that sounds like a big concern, but implementation or demonstration funding is what we're really going after. Is some things as simple as wider striping on a roadway. Instead of a thin 4 or 5 inch striping, they put a 12-inch striping down. That actually calms traffic. So there are lots of things that we can do that will come into play. We've talked about this and what we can do to improve the safety on the roads in Iron County. So they will be here. Kimley Horn will be at our next meeting to answer any questions and to provide a presentation in 2 weeks about Safe Streets for All, which will include all of the county and all of the municipalities within Iron County. And there are some innovative ideas to improve transportation safety for vehicles as well as for pedestrians and bicycles. And so I'm just giving you a heads up. They will be here in 2 weeks. Along with that, in 2 weeks, I will be making a proposal to adopt the belt route alignment. We hired Kimley Horn 2 years ago to look at the alignment of the belt route, which we received that information and we'll be presenting that. And why that's important and also exciting, I've had 4 people approach me, 4 property owners approach me to work out a dedication of property for the belt route. So the more property we can acquire for the belt route, the simpler it will be when the time comes to install the belt route. And in the last month, I've had four landowners approach me asking if they could, where the belt route is and how we can work out the dedication of that property. And that was one of the reasons Reed went to the county zoning to get the ordinance changed, that when we do an alignment of a belt route, for example, for a road, and it creates 2 lots that are non-conforming lots. Just a simple example is if zoning is 20-acre minimums, we cut off 7 acres here and 11 acres there, and we take the belt route. We have 2 non-conforming lots, but we don't have an ordinance that was allowing for those to be developable lots. So now we're requesting that the ordinance be in place that would allow.
Are you looking to tweak the alignment from what we approved years ago, or?
Yes, it was tweaked. It was tweaked so that it would impact fewer properties, so that it would also have the curvatures. We had, years ago it was approved with what I think Steve used to call the 2-finger method. There's where it goes. We've tied that down to, and getting back to why that's important is because these 4 property owners and others are feeling the pressure of, well, where exactly is it? And I don't want to have us acquire property and then have a channel problem. Do you remember the channel problem when they crossed the from France to England? They missed by a little bit. Well, we don't want to have a part of our approved belt route up here not align with the next property down because we have a channel issue of 20 or 30 feet. So we want to bring to you, I want to bring to you next in 2 weeks, an adoption of this is where it's going to be, so that when I've already started to hire for those 4 properties, we need to have a property description. And that's going to firm it up pretty firm. It's going to say from here to here to here to there. And so we don't want to be on the next property having a little different alignment. So we'll adopt the alignment that's been proposed. We'll talk to that in 2 weeks. And at the same time, it'll give all property owners a really clear picture with engineered alignment versus what we show now, which has no meets and bounds on it. It simply says, well, it goes here, and it's close to there. This will have meets and bounds, and we won't be acquiring all of those, but when we acquire these 4 properties, we want to make sure they line up with the other 75 to 100 properties that will need to be acquired. And there, when I started 4 years ago, and people asked about the belt route, I thought that would be something that would happen in the next 20 years. But as we've seen what's happening and the growth of this valley and what's happening out on Iron Springs Road, what Terry just spoke about out at WECO, what we're hearing from others at Fabian and BZI, what they're all asking me, so when's the belt route going to come in? It's very important to them. So now my answer is I would expect that we'll start working on that belt route in the next 10 years. Easily start working on sections of it and getting it through. How we do that financially will have to be through grants and other dedications through property owners, but it's going to start happening quicker than I had imagined. Along with that segues right into what's going on Iron Springs Road. So we have hired a consultant to manage that. That's a project that is managed by UDOT and us, and we selected Stanley Engineering out of St. George to oversee the design and management of that project, which our goal is to get the plans as soon as possible, late this fall, so that we can go out to bid and lock in a contractor before all the work that starts in 2026, and then we become and also ran, because those will be much larger projects, and we want to get a contractor in place as soon as possible that will start to refurbish and rebuild Iron Springs Road.
What are the current thoughts of running utilities down that road so we don't tear it up later for a sewer line and things?
So that was a discussion. I met with Stanley, with Clayton Wilson this past week, and with Justin Christensen from UDOT. And I said, along with our scope of work, we'd like to see where sleeves would make sense across Iron Springs Road. In fact, we did that across Sage Hill Road, which we're improving right now, which I'm sure Bruce will talk about. So we put in sleeves for water lines on Sage Hill Road and for a sewer line. And what will happen, and we're actually, Mary Leah and I are working on modifying our encroachment permit application, which it currently says, will you disturb asphalt or will it be non-asphalt? We're going to add a third. Will you be using a county sleeve? Which will be another option.
So you've abandoned the idea of putting it in the road. You're going to put it in the right of way on the side.
What's
the sewer line?
Oh, the sewer line is always going to be off to the side of the road, just because it's so far out to being built between the connection between BZI and 5600, and so we're saving space. It may be over there, just off the edge.
You fall from the Y out to the north, or do we have to have a lift station to push that sewage that way?
So let me rephrase that.
Do we have the proper grade for the flow of the sewer going north from the Y from 56?
Yes.
We do. If it does slope enough.
From the Y on the east side, it flows to BZI,
okay,
which is where the lift station will go.
Oh, so it'll flow to that lift station, and then, okay.
Yeah, and so that is a 30-inch line that is part of the Cedar City Master Plan. Okay. And so I've talked to Ken Fogel at Cedar City and trying to make sure we're all planning for that sewer line. It will not be in the road. I thought you were talking about crossings. That's where I want some sleeves to come in. So we'll look at where it makes sense to just put an oversized sleeve so we can connect without having to bore or to dig. Digging will be a non-option after this road is completed. It will now be, we won't allow road breaks. You'll either have to bore and I don't plan, it may sound a little heavy-handed, but I want them to use our sleeves. They're going to be located in And it's going to be a lot less expensive for the developer to use an in-place sleeve anyway, but there will be a fee to recoup our costs for sleeving. And we know where the sewer line is supposed to come and where the water lines are supposed to go, so we just need to sleeve for them in the future. And that's what we did on Sage Hill Road, and that's what I was saying. We put in sleeves for 2 water lines and a sewer line, and also conduit for electrical and other types of utility that maybe you'll have to travel up the borrow ditch, a couple hundred feet to catch a sleeve, like with a power line or something, but it's not going to be, I don't think, a very heavy lift for somebody to do that. We worked with the landowners where the water lines would cross, where it made sense there. So they're just sleeved for water lines when properties want to develop. And so we'd like to kind of do the same thing on Iron Springs Road. Think a little ahead, a little pre-proofing of the road. So those are some of a few things that are going on, but I'm sure I've forgotten about 100 other things. I think we've got like 46 projects, and between grants and roadways and I never know whether my job's going to be dealing with flood control, roads, or building and development permits. But those are 3 items that keep coming up, and then there's always the one-offs. You would think that addressing would be so straightforward. I'm going to put in a plug for Mary Lee. Addresses overall seem to be pretty easy, but every one of them is unique. There is something going on with almost every address that she gives, and so probably 1 out of 10 she calls me in and says, Rich, can we look at this together? Because they're not as simple as you might imagine. Mm-hmm. You're trying to sometimes shoehorn an address in between 2 existing addresses, and there's no space. There's no room between address number 501 and 503, mm-hmm. especially if it's on the same side of the road. And we don't give 0.5 addresses. So, but that seems to be the way it is. The other thing that comes up all the time, and that's why we started having a roads meeting every 2 weeks. The questions over roads, who owns it, who controls it, and whether it's public or not public. We're constantly being asked that question. People come in and buy a piece of property, and my standard answer is, when you bought the property, you bought a road, you just didn't know it. Because it's been a road for 100 years, you can't close it. And I feel it's our responsibility to protect the public's right to use public lands by allowing public roads to remain open. Okay. That's all I've got. I'll get off my soapbox a little bit now.
Thanks for your report. Appreciate it. Any questions for Rich?
Nope.
Thanks.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
All right. Public Works, Bruce.
Sir? Welcome. First stairs.
Thank you.
Again, sorry.
Thank you, commissioners, for allowing me to be here. We can start with the road department. We've been working on the Little Eden subdivision. That was our payment for that property for the CJC. We're really super close. There's a little bit of work that Enoch City has to do we put a big drainage across that road, and they've got to do an inlet, and that was part of their Enoch City's agreement, was to put a concrete structure on the end of that inlet to help the flood water. And then we should be able to get that paved end of July. So that'll be done. Then we'll have to, well, it'll probably be August before we get the seal coat put on, but it'll be done. It's been more work than we thought, but it's a good project. The Pinhole Road's complete. We took The Pinto Road from the Washington County line to 56 is all good. We added a portion of that to us and put it on the Forest Service Schedule A from one of them ranches to the county line, but it's worked out. We had Garrett help us a little bit with widening the trees in that road with the fires, Traco. Yeah, we took them trees down, but that's done, and the Forest Service has paid us for it, so we're in good shape there. Not sure where we are with the mine in Modine. I haven't heard.
I think they approved the conditional use permit, didn't they?
They did.
They did what?
They approved the conditional use
Conditional
permit.
use
Well, they did.
permit, so I'm sure they're going through their permitting with the BLM and all that, and from what I've been told from an outside source, that'll take a while,
Yeah, it's not something that'll be quick.
yeah.
But we did agree to work with them on some cattle guards, and the BLM wanted us to clean the creek portion of that. We'll have to do that anyway. We're going to have to do that anyway. I got Rich helping me on the RFP for the Gold Springs Road. That's been approved, except we don't have the money yet. It's
And that's to move it up on the ridge
Yeah.
from the bottom.
Yeah, we've been approved by the BLM.
NEPA? Did they have to do NEPA on that?
So no, because there was I don't know, some kind of condition that made it okay to
It's a
not do
miracle you got that approved.
that. I know. I know. The BLM's performed a couple of miracles for
Awesome.
me in the last little while. So but we just got to have an alignment, and then we need a little bit of hydrology study to see how big a pipe's got across underneath there. We did get the funding from FEMA based on the approval from the BLM, but now George is telling me the state's holding us up, and we may have to go through it all again with the state. So we're going forward with trying to get an engineer to do a hydrology and an alignment. Once that's done, my guys can get in there and finish that road. We got a new guy starting on Monday. You guys will approve him, but that still puts us down 6 employees. Just heads up, not that you don't know that, but and we're working on the west end of Mid Valley Road on past Three Peaks. That is was a BLM. Maria came and said, "Man, we really need this for the bike races that come in," and according to her, there's several $1 million worth of people come into our county with the bike races. 14,000 bike racers in the 2 races they have. So it was a worthy project. I called Commissioner Robinson and said, "Can we move a road that we're going to do to next year and do that this year?" And it all kind of fell together in 24 hours. The BLM approved it, and then Maria and I met with that committee that puts that bike race together, and I think we're good to go. She's done a really good job keeping that here.
That's
There's a
awesome.
few things that we got to do, and just some mitigation between the landowners that have land right there by it. But I think she's got that figured out. She does a good job.
So will that take that to a bigger parking lot? Will that road end at a larger parking lot, and what's the capacity of that, and is it expandable? Where are we at on that?
So the parking lot is not bigger, but it'll add a parking lot to it. The reason is they have starting gates on these bike races, and it's got to be somewhat level and a hard surface, because I think
Right.
they put your tire up against. I have never been to one, but they were telling me about it. But it's going to move that project, or them starting gates up there, probably 300 to 700 feet, and then that'll take the pressure off the road for the residents to get in and out.
Okay.
They wanted to close the road. We were against that. By doing this, it's going to allow that road to open or remain open, I should say. And then they came up with a badge system. The residents will have a hanging badge in their mirror, and they'll just be able to pull through there. They'll have security that allows people in and out, and you have to stop and say which team you're on, and your pit's over here or your pit's over there, and a resident will be able just to go right through. So I don't know the capacity. We bladed off a big portion of the BLM below there. To the east of that last year, it was probably 7 acres, 6 acres, something like that. We did that exactly right now 1 year ago. So that added enough space for them. I don't think they're hurting for space yet, but that did add one more parking lot to the top of that Three Peaks Park. Did that answer your question?
Yep. Yep.
We're working on the Sage Hill for new chip. It's just over a mile. Goes from the Savage, the new Savage building, to back to Iron Springs. So that's where our guys are today. Our oil bid, our chip bid, and our asphalt bids are back. Surprisingly, they were just a little bit less than last year. We've got a pretty ambitious schedule for chipping this year. We'll do roughly 70 lane miles, and 2 of them will be in subdivisions. We're going to do a micro seal on one subdivision and try it out. We're going to have to hire that out. We don't have the.
Is that
people or
like
the-
what Cedar City did last
Yeah.
year? Same kind of
Yeah,
process?
same kind of surface. But I think it's worthy in the subdivisions. This will be in that Monarch Meadow subdivision that, you know, it's kind of odd to think, but that thing sat for 10 years, and now that was built in 2007, and we haven't done anything in there since. So luckily it's held up. And then the other one will be out off of Iron Springs, is it Bridle Path? Bridle Path subdivision is the other one we'll be chipping this year. We're going to start hauling the chip to our locations as soon as we get done with the road over on Sage Hills and Three Peaks. And then we'll go from that into skim patching, and then from that into chipping. So we'll be busy this next quarter. We got a new GPS survey system. Justin's been doing it. Of course, you can't get away with much at the road department. We call it his magic stick, but he's getting quite efficient with it. And so we'll be able to show projects on the computer when we do have issues, like when we want to go to the BLM and say, what's this road going to look like? We'll be able to do that now and show them. It saved us a lot of time and saved us a ton of money not having to hire surveyors. But he's done a good job, and he's taken that on, and I just got to give him kudos to you guys, because he's done a fantastic job learning and understanding how that works.
So does that link up with that total station the county
It does.
has? So and it's dead on, huh?
Yeah,
Pretty
well,
cool.
yeah, it can be.
That's pretty cool.
You got to kind of learn how to. There's variances, but
That's
if you have
awesome.
enough satellites hitting it, yeah, it's dead on.
That's great.
It's magic.
The magic stick.
It's the magic stick. And then the new rules from the state, I talked about this last time, any oiled roads faster than 35 are going to require to be striped in 2026. We should be able to handle that. There's a few roads with population increasing that we may kick down to 35. But most of them, it only affected like 6 roads.
So if it's over 35, they have to be striped?
Yeah, yeah. Any questions on roads? We are working, one thing that's not on there is we're working with the DOT up on the northern end of Paraguna on some drainage issues that go around that on-off ramp. And they're proposing to put in better drainage. You and I have met out there before. We have issues that come out, the water coming out of Little Creek, and then where does it go? They're gonna get it across the road, so then
Or we're
across
going
the
to do
freeway.
a couple of cross cuts to get that across the road,
Yeah.
down through that culvert.
And then across, they're gonna put in increase the size of the culverts across I-15.
Oh, really?
And then we'll have to pick it up on the other side.
So will they bore that, or?
He didn't know, it was going out
Have
to
to.
bid. He thought that boring was probably more expensive, but they might just do half a road at a time and slow that traffic down, is kind of what Davey thought. But I think there's 4 additional culverts going in there that would help that drainage issue that
Oh, yeah.
we've had. Any other questions on
Well,
roads?
that property owners, that has that crop down there.
Right.
It's damaged his crops a lot, and so if we can go around that, that'd be great.
Yes, it has. And hopefully this will take that. It's just backing up there. So with these additional culverts, hopefully the water will run through to the west side.
Okay.
And then we'll have to increase ours on the frontage road. But I told him we would. Okay, going on to landfill. We got to do our water samples on Wednesday. Jeremy and I'll do that. The director of the DEQ's coming to do visits in rural landfills. I kind of poked the bear there a little bit with tires and getting representation from the DEQ, so he committed to come down. I may have to go with him to a couple of the rural ones and show him point out a few things with him. But looking forward to that. That'll be that's a good meeting, and hopefully get them to change their thought process a little bit. They're great people, but they've never actually done the work, and so it's nice to have them see our side. So I'm kind of excited about that. As landfills, we're trying to work with the state on getting an electronic recycle program for small batteries. And on the last bullet point on this presentation was fires, and fires just continue to be a problem. We have one every 2 weeks, if not more. We really need to figure out what we're doing with these batteries, and even the last couple that as together as all landfills have found was even a vape, like a vape cartridge has a battery in it, got ran over, got hot enough to light fires. Clear up to where these lithium-ion batteries now, they were all typically quite small, but now they're making them for boats and trolling motors. They last longer, so you can get them, almost the size of a normal battery now. But they are a thorn in our side, creating fires. So we're working with other landfills and hopefully with the DEQ and try to get something passed next year. Our new front load trucks here.
Bruce, how hard would it be to just send something out to the public to ask them if they could dispose of their batteries at the weigh station in a bucket or something?
Well, we do that, but then what do we do with them? That's what we're asking.
I see.
We've got a collection of them, but then what do we do with them from there?
Right.
And that's the hard part.
I see.
Is where do they go? Where do we take them?
Can you find just another spot to bury them in the landfill so you can cover them with dirt so they don't start on fire? Or?
Probably not.
Really?
Probably not. Mm. We don't want to right now. We may have to do something like that, but they, as soon as they're crushed, I went out on a Saturday. I don't know if I told you this story, but I went out on a Saturday. My wife and I were throwing stuff out, and I could hear snapping. It's just snap, snap, snap. I'm like, what is that? Took my shovel, dug down like 3-4 inches. There was one, it was already arcing on some tinfoil that was right next to it, right? So there continue to be a problem everywhere. We're hoping that we can come up with a plan that maybe somebody could recycle them or do whatever. But it's not just us. We're hoping that together as all the landfills, we can figure something out. We got a lot of pushback from the private landfills. They don't want to play. They said that it's not costing them enough. I don't understand that. And some of them do a large volume of and we based it on how much volume you was doing to decide how much your portion to that state fee would be. And some of them don't feel like that was fair. So Jaron Scott he used to be the landfill manager before me, and he's the one pushing that. Between him, myself, and the guy in Washington County, we're trying to get a plan together. But our new front load trucks here, it'll take us a while to get all the cans out. We've been trying to just pick a part of the county and get that done that week. We're limited with the amount of people that we have to just say, hey, you got to go take this extra thing on. So we're just kind of doing it as fill in. With that, Cedar City's already purchased one of the roll-off trucks that truck will be replacing. They purchased it and a couple of cans that they wanted for. One was for the Heritage Center. I don't know where the other can's going, but it was our oldest truck, and they felt like they could use it. I felt between myself and Commissioner Robinson and Luke, we felt like it was a good deal, so we sold it. And then we have one more to sell still, and I don't know if we'll go through Wade or through the auction to sell that other truck. I'm not sure. Our numbers at the landfill, usually I have you print out. I couldn't get my computer to work on that this morning, but we're hanging in there steady. We just got a steady growth of trash. You know, we're since 2013 we've increased every year just a little teeny bit. You know, well, not a little teeny bit. Some of them have been quite significant, but we're just continue to grow, same as our town, right? Makes sense. Our equipment's mostly good. We had a breakdown with the loader. Our 624 John Deere loader had an issue, but we've got it. It should be working today. And then the tire bill that I proposed last year didn't pass. They had Senator Vickers. Thank you, Senator Vickers. He worked with me extremely closely with that. I went up to the Capitol a couple of times and testified. He did a real good job, but it's a big industry, and they had a lot of lobbyists, and so it's scheduled to pass next March. He called me and said, "Is next March going to kill you?" And I said no, and so we're going to shoot for that. But it should create a demand to where these tires maybe will become valuable at a point, and then instead of costing us, you know, several $1,000s to get rid of them, maybe we can have them pay us or even break even at that point. Budgets, both companies are doing well, and morale at both places is relatively good. Landfill maybe a little better in the road department, but we're doing well. Any questions?
So if they do pass that bill where you can grind your own tires up, what percentage of cover will that do on your landfill versus
Not
dirt?
that much.
Not
And
that
that's what really slowed it down is we tested some over in Kanab. So Danny Little, the manager over there, bought a shredder, and we went and tested like 2 dump truck loads of tires and shredded them through there. And it's like 3 or 4 buckets when they're shredded. It's not that much. Okay. It's really not that much. And one of the senators, when we were in the committee meeting, was like, "Oh, we're going to have to dig that stuff up later. This is such a bad idea." And I don't know if he realizes it, but a little bit of that rubber comes off of every single tire every time they drive on every road. And so I tried to explain that to him, but maybe I'm not the most articulate person to. But there was a lot of fear of they have a lot of fear of. One person even called it a hazardous waste, and it's not. It's not a hazardous waste. The way the DEQ's written the rules, where you can't just haul them, they've kind of made it look like it's hazardous waste, but it's a tire.
They're on the roads all the day.
Yeah, they're tires. And one thing that we're really hoping with this more than anything is we've got several locations in Iron County with thousands of tires stacked up. What are we going to do with them, right? Where the people have stacked them up there's one on Highway 20, there's some out to Rush Lake. And it's not just our issue, right? It's a whole statewide issue. When you tell people you can't do this, they just dump them in the desert, and we got to go get them anyway. So,
Okay.
All right, any questions?
Nope.
Thank you.
Thank you,
you.
Bruce.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, Commissioner Blake, do you want to?
Sure. I've just got a few things. So my position on the airport board, the new dedication to the new terminal is coming up, and now I can't remember the dates, but I'll get those out. So the Cedar City Airport by volume is the busiest airport in the state, with SU Aviation and with private aviation. We don't have a control tower, so we're an uncontrolled airport. We've been working for a long time to try and get a control tower, and that's all a mess with the FAA. But that effort is going to be increased, and they're just at some point in the near future going to ask for letters of support, things like that. So that will come up. We held a joint TRT and TRCC board meeting. That's our restaurant tax and hotel tax. We held a joint meeting with those two boards to discuss with SUU a project to expand some of their athletic facilities. The board voted to move forward with that. And so that'll come to the commission in the end. But what they're talking about is expand. They're going to do some improvements to the softball complex. They're actually going to redo the softball complex. That's
Bicentennial or on the hill?
No, the SUU.
Oh, SU.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
SUUs. That's covered pretty much by FEMA money. There's just some things that they want to add to make it a little bit, so turn it into what's the word I'm looking for? Like a professional type of deal. We can actually attract some tournaments and stuff there. The biggest one is a revamp of the general use gymnasiums. It's complicated. In a nutshell, most of the practice takes place with basketball, volleyball, all that stuff in the Centrum, because the other facilities aren't up to par for that, which doesn't allow them to book out things in the Centrum that are going to draw people into town. And we're seeing a huge increase since John came in on the summer games. We're seeing a huge upsurgence of summer games, and we don't have a place to put a lot of the activities that we could be attracting. Anyway, so there'll be a revamp of basically the practice facility, which is going to open up the Centrum for more programming. The other is a outdoor football, soccer field, and in the winter they're going to install a big bubble over it for year-round usage. And we've just got a ton of requests for that type of stuff anyway, mostly through summer games. So I think it'll be kind of a multi-year project, but I think it's a really good thing. We've actually been able to that's a return on investment that we're able to track really easily through the summer games and through all of those programs that come in, such as, high school football tournaments, high school basketball tournaments. We've actually had to turn away a big national cheer competition this last month just for lack of programming space. So just things like that, it'll help facilitate that stuff in the future. George is around somewhere. We've been talking a lot, FEMA issues, FEMA money that was granted but now goes to the state, and the state, before they'll release it, we have to jump through all of the state hoops to get the pass-through money from FEMA. We've actually got a meeting with them, I think, tomorrow morning in person. Then we all attended the GOP convention for the county this weekend. Thank Casey Anderson is the outgoing treasurer, and congratulations to Wes Barton, the incoming treasurer. Let's look forward to working with those guys. That's what I got.
I was able to attend a Farm Bureau meeting. I heard a presentation from Stephanie Hill talking about a group that she's taking to Washington, D.C. this week. They have several meetings with senators and I believe congresspeople to address the tariffs on the sheep industry and throwing support towards the sheep and wool industry in Iron County. She has a group put together. I believe she's calling it the Cedar Mountain Group, but she's very, very passionate in supporting the Iron County wool industry and sheep industry. So that she's doing a fantastic job on that. I was also able to attend a Department of Agriculture meeting at the Heritage Center where they addressed the drought situation that we're facing, and talked about programs that were available through the different government entities that will be available throughout the state. But as you travel the state, we have most of the burden of drought issues in the south end of the state. So the monies that will be available be more available to us rather than to the rest of the state. Had a sidebar there with Kelly Pearson, who is the acting director of the Department of Agriculture, and he mentioned to me that we should look into declaring a state of emergency for the drought situation in southern Utah. And so I'm going to meet with him this week, or I'll get with him on the phone and address how we need to approach that and what we can do. And what that will do is open up different programs to the producers in our area, whether it be for water, whether it be for feed for livestock, or those kinds of things, and different programs that are available. So that was a really good meeting. There was representatives from Forest Service, BLM, NRCS, SITLA, Department of Agriculture, DWR, Public Lands, and so it was very well attended. There was over, I would say, 200 people in that meeting.
It was huge.
So it was obviously at the front of everybody's mind of dealing with the drought in our current situation, but so that was really good. And then attended the GOP meeting and was able to talk to Celeste Malloy, and I knew she would already have this in the front of her mind, but I wanted to address with her the need that there are for, despite the efforts that DOJ is making, there's the need in our small rural areas for the NRCS, for the FSA offices, for the those small government offices that help our areas. So, and she was very well aware of that, and said she had actually made a call to the White House and said, "Hey, be careful what you're doing here, because those programs and those entities are needed in small southern Utah." So it was really good to visit with her about that. So.
All right, thank you. I have a few things. We continue to work on our jail. We have weekly meetings with our architect and our builder, Layton Construction, and Babcock Design. I've been working with Mike Platt with Platt & Platt on crossing the railroad tracks there to the west of the jail site. Horrocks Engineers, we hired them to be a liaison between us and Union Pacific. And hopefully Platts will have that designed this week for Intellect so they can get that crossing, that boring done. We had dinner last week with the commissioners, with Senator Curtis, and Commissioner Blake cooked steaks, Dry Lakes beef. It was really good. He might want to look at a career in that. But
I forgot to mention that.
I know you did.
We did do that.
Yeah, we did. But Roost Chris better be careful, because they were really good. But we had a chance to meet with Senator Curtis and talk about some of the needs. I had Commissioner Robinson talked about the sheep industry. They're really struggling with the imports from New Zealand and Australia, and they're hoping that with the kind of the discussion they're having in Washington D.C. on tariffs, that they can be on a more level playing field with those imports. It's really hurting the ag folks, the producers of sheep, and so we hope that we can bring them some relief and help them. I talked to Senator Lee about that, and Senator Curtis, and beating the drum. Celeste, I know Celeste is aware of it. Representative Malloy. GOP convention was mentioned. Farm Bureau meetings. Let's see. I attended my behavioral health meetings. Behavioral health, yes, and then the steering committee meetings this last week. I met with Senator Lee I think I mentioned that last time when I was back in D.C. For the NACO conference, and we talked about some of these same issues. One of the things that he's focused on is public lands and trying to do something with the Antiquities Act, so that the size of these these grand staircase, Bears Ear, some of these it becomes a ping pong ball between different administrations. They come and go, and so trying to work on some of that. I also talked to Senator Lee a little bit about the Houses Act. He's been working on that for a lot of years, and it basically is trying to take disposal lands that are close to municipalities to turn them into low-income housing, plots of land to help with the pricing of housing and those kind of things. And I think that's all I have. We're sorry for going over this morning. We might have to look at cutting one report out. I don't know. We seem to be going over lately. I don't know if we need to cut one out. And
Can I mention one more thing really quick?
sure.
That I forgot. Bruce talked about the project to extend the road for the bike races. That one weekend event this last year generated $1.2 million. 800,000 of that was just in lodging
Wow, that's awesome.
locally. So that was a one weekend. That's the value of that event to our community. It's a $1.2 million infused into the economy in a weekend. So
That is awesome.
Wow.
Kudos to them and their staff. Well, it's 10:20. We'll go ahead and take about a 10-minute break. We'll reconvene this meeting at 10:30. Thank you. think we're ready to go. We'll begin our 10 o'clock meeting, which is about 35 minutes late, but we apologize for that. We will start off with agenda item number 1. This is a public hearing regarding amendments to the 2025 budget. Luke?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Sir?
Okay, so I emailed this paper out. There was one addition that I'll go over as well. When we were preparing budget last fall, we had talked about adding a few positions later this year. If we had one inmate that we had in the jail that had a lot of medical costs, if he was gone, then we were going to revisit this and kind of relook at the budget. So you can see on the line item for the medical expense for the jail, that's being lowered by $600,000. And we are proposing to add a couple different positions. On the third line down, this includes a couple positions in the attorney's office. One is a new part-time position, which is a victim advocate, and then one full-time attorney position. There is also one full-time assistant position right now that will be going down to part-time. So reducing that one to part-time, adding one part-time position for the victim advocate, and then one new attorney. That and then their benefits are listed right below that. The line below that is for a contracted attorney with Mike Edwards. So that was $70,000 per year to assist the attorney's office. Altogether, between those new positions and then 3 new positions in the jail, just regular jail correction deputies, that's added as well. Between those new positions and the savings from the medical expense, overall it saved about $100,000 in the budget. So we do have those increases, but we didn't want to add those during the budget time because of the inmate that we had at the time. So other things on here are pretty minor or related to grants. There is it's about halfway down, $2,760 added for the jail. This is for their standards and inspections. NEJO is what it's called. So basically, it used to be through, I think, the state, and they changed that program. So they want to go with this other company that comes and does inspections and gives the jail all their standards and laws. So they're following all the laws. So yeah, that's $2,760. Right below that is $8,000. This is related to search and rescue, also emergency management. We're going to add this in Georgia's budget. The search and rescue, they pay for a portion for their volunteers through their 501c3. This is for the actual employees of the county. The SAR Topo app, which tracks if there is somebody lost, they go out and do searches, and it tracks all their movements so they can look at the areas that they have already covered during their search. So that's $8,000. A couple lines below that LexiPol software. So this is a state mandate for an early intervention program. A LexiPol software, $16,435. We're actually getting that money through a grant. So we have revenue coming in from that state grant, and then we'll also spend that money. So we just have to budget in the revenue side of our budget and the expense side of our budget. Even though it's a wash, we still have to budget for it. The the liquor tax allotment, that money was received last year, so right towards the end of the year. We weren't sure what it would be when we prepared the original budget. Once we received that money, we are now including it in the budget to be spent for this year, but it was received last year. That's that $105,000. The last two things we had talked about during budget time, the $58,000 for the master plan study for the fairgrounds. That kind of didn't get included in the budget, even though we had talked about it. So I'm just going and adding that back in. We had budgeted to transfer that money from the tourism department, from the tourism tax dollars to the fair department, but it wasn't budgeted to spend in the fair department. So we're just adding that in to be spent. And then the last part up toward the very top is for the fire district study. That's going to be $25,000 from CIB to go towards that. And down below, a couple lines below that, we have the feasibility contract for $50,000. So it's going to cost us $50,000, but we will get reimbursed $25,000 of it. Any questions or anything else you want to go over in specific?
No.
Okay. Chad is here as well if you have questions about the attorney's office changes, but do the public hearing now.
Okay. Thank you for that. We'll go ahead and open a public hearing regarding these budget adjustments. Those that would like to speak, if you can approach the mic and state your name.
First.
Wrong agenda item? Okay, thank you. Is there, this isn't public comments. This is a public hearing for what we just talked about, so. Is there anybody else? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and we'll go to now public comments. So, if you would like to come back up, we'll give you your exercise today.
Sitting for a long time.
So if you can just state your name and the paper says be nice, so. All right.
Okay, my name is Mary Jo Montoya, and I'm here to represent the Rainbow Ranchos neighborhood. Last Thursday, if you remember, was a particularly beautiful day. And in the evening, Michaela Pelkey, my neighbor, took her dog Pickles out for a walk.
Ma'am, could you tell us Rainbow Ranches? Can you?
It's out by the Sinclair station, exit 51.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, she took her dog out for a walk, and as she walked towards 5300 West, 3400 South, two of the numerous dogs that live on that property got out of the yard, came, and one of them attacked her dog and killed the dog. This property has had numerous calls to the sheriff about their dogs. Back in August, they came out after me. Luckily, I had a large stick and I kept them at bay, but nothing seems to happen when we make these calls. The owner could not be here today because she had to work, but she told me that she was told by the sheriff that these people won't even have a citation unless they don't pay her vet bill. What does it take to get a citation when one dog kills another dog? That could have been a child. That is the first of the problems with this neighborhood. It was the first deadly attack, but maybe not the last. We don't know. These people, by the way, already have more dogs. The woman actually had the nerve to offer a puppy to the Pelkeys when they went to talk to them about it. Complaints have been filed and nothing has changed. The complaints have been filed through the years. These dogs get out. We have all kinds of documentation. They kill other animals. They kill people's chickens. We have lots of documentation on this. So the dogs are the first problem. But I'm grateful to the man who was here earlier about the building permit situation because that is also a major problem in this property. Vicious dogs, major building violations and health concerns. This is an old single-wide trailer. I've lived on our property for 20 years, and that place was already there, so it's very old. It was abandoned for most of the time we've been here, so at least for 15 years. We'd been told it was abandoned because of sewer problems, and then all of a sudden people are living in it. So it was abandoned, we were told, because of sewer problems, and a few years ago people moved in. Now they've made additions to the trailer with no building permits. I admire their work ethic because they get out there and they have built on all kinds of things. Unfortunately, they also now have 3 travel trailers permanently stationed on this property. It's 1 acre. They have 3 travel trailers. If you look at the photographs that are there, they have made additions to these travel trailers. They are now laying pipes. I watched the older woman unload a whole trailer load of pipes. They're digging into the ground, laying pipes to these travel trailers. You'll notice also that there are fire wood-burning stoves in these trailers, and they have wooden fence connecting these trailers, so we're concerned about fire issues. A SWAT team was out at this particular location on February 14th, and they did arrest some people. And we are, as a neighborhood, we're concerned that we are not safe walking down the street in our neighborhood. Children don't ride bikes. We don't go for walks. Anybody who knows anything avoids that property because they have to. It is dangerous, and it's been ongoing for years. These people have no permits, no licenses. They have vicious dogs, cars coming and going at all hours of the night. The people are rude and mean, and we want to know what can be done to help us be safe. The additions on the trailers goes right along with what the large man with the blue shirt was talking about earlier. And we just want some help for our neighborhood. And I'll tell you, I feel a little nervous about talking about this because people who don't care about rules and laws don't care about what they do, and I'm worried about a little bit about retribution. So thank you for any help you can give us.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm going to come and talk to you for a second.
Okay.
I'm the liaison both with the Sheriff's Department, with building and zoning. Let me step out and talk to you just for a second and get some information.
Okay, I sent you a text on Friday morning, but you may not have had time to respond to that.
I'm so far behind.
Okay.
In fact, I saw a big block of text.
That was it, yeah.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
Okay.
I'm going to come and talk to you just for a second right now, just for a minute, and then we'll figure it out.
All right, thank you so much.
After public comment?
Yeah.
One of the ones we're talking to.
What's that?
Because you're one of the ones we're talking to.
I'll wait till after public comment.
Can you hang around for a
No,
minute?
if you'll hang around for 5 minutes,
Thanks.
that'd be great.
Thank you.
And one thing you might do too, until you talk to Commissioner Blake, is our county attorney's here and Mr. Palmer as well. You could huddle with them a little bit. They might have some.
We've got the right people
Girls
in the room. We can
Our sheriff isn't here today, but those two might be two you can talk to for a minute.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
Anybody else? Come on up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is James T. Hillsper Jr. I'm on the board of directors of the Cedar Highlands Homeowners Association, and I'd like to spend a few minutes today talking about some recent things that are going on in Cedar Highlands. As you know, Cedar
Sir, could you get a little closer to the mic?
Sorry?
Sorry, they can't hear for the minutes. So
Right.
thank you.
No, I understand. Cedar Highlands Development is just above Cedar City and started about 30 years ago with a plan for 165 lots, and it's been zoned primarily as seasonal housing since that time. But there have been many changes in the last few years, especially in the last 5 since we purchased our cabin from the Crawford family back in 2020. As this past fiscal year in a review, we found out that 90 homes have now been built on the development, and that exceeds the 50% There's when you look at the tax base, there's $48 million worth of tax base that hopefully we're paying our taxes, and the county has received their share of the $370,000 in property taxes. 9 more homes are under construction right now, and we expect that they're going to be completed this summer, and there are additional plans for more. By next year, we could easily have over 100, and that would be 60%. Back when the county, as far as I know, when the county reviewed road maintenance on Cedar Highlands, one of the criteria was 50% of the home, 50% of the lots had to be an habitable home. Well, we're up to over 50% now, and we expect to be 60% by next year. Many of us use this as a second residence. My wife and I live in southern Utah, as there are several other people who do the same thing as we review the property records. And of course, we enjoy life elevated in our cabin, especially in those summer months when it's too hot in St. George. But it takes a hardy soul, good equipment, and steel nerves to navigate Cedar Highlands Drive, especially in the winter. I can schedule visits to the cabin, with a weather window. Is it clear? Can I get up there? Am I going to get snowed in? Okay. But a lot of residents, including retirees, of which we estimate that there's about 30% of the people who have homes up there live in them year-round, and many of them are retired. They have to go when they need to go, and regardless of what the road conditions are at that particular moment. The HOA, the Cedar Highlands HOA, has managed roads and grading and plowing as best we can, both the county, Cedar Highlands Drive, as well as the private roads that connect to all of the other pieces of property. However, the increased traffic due to the residents and people taking advantage of the recreational areas up there, which are great, the HOA is asking, in light of the exceeding the 50% criteria, to revisit the county's position on road maintenance in Cedar Highlands. We ask that you work with the HOA board. Myself and Mr. Grimes are ready to work with anybody here, but we just wanted to come forward and make that announcement that we have grown significantly in the last few years. And that's all my comments today. If there are any questions, I'll get out of your hair.
No.
No,
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, our engineer, Rich Wilson's here. You might want to grab him and pick
Yes,
his
sir.
brain a little bit about that issue.
Absolutely.
I was going to say, I got a heads up that you were coming today.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if I can work, man, I can't talk. We can schedule, I still can't talk.
Have a drink.
Let's,
I'm an engineer. English is a second language.
oh yeah, you and Rich will get along good. No, let's, I think this is an issue worth discussing, and let's set up a meeting and, with you. I asked Terry to stay behind for a minute, knowing that you were going to make some comment. Maybe we can set up a meeting in the next couple of weeks with the folks that need to be in on that conversation and look at it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Craig Thompson, and I'm here on public safety concerns. I live on Westview Drive, and it's getting that time of year where we have everybody on there, bicyclists, joggers, and something needs to be done out there. It's really bad. I mean, we've got heavy equipment that's running up and down the road, using it for a highway, and even though you have the belt loop out west, they're not using that like they're supposed to. We don't really see any law enforcement on it unless they're going home. And we've had accidents, and my concern is the safety of the people. We've got, the other day, I got nailed by a deer. I didn't nail the deer. He nailed me coming out of the side. We got sagebrush, we got mustard weed, whatever you want to call it, growing up taller than the deer. You've got the area from the asphalt to the property line. Who's responsible for that? Who's supposed to keep that clean and taken care of? I mean, you can't see. The dogs run out, people are jogging. You don't know what you got on there. I leave at 6 every morning, and it's really bad. And I'm trying to be nice about the whole thing. And I'm all for development. I don't have a problem with development, but I know you want to widen the road. Why wasn't Iron County Water made to put curb and gutter in and widen that section of their road? I mean, it's all our tax money, no matter what. And it should have been done. You've got people on a turn now trying to turn into there. It's another public safety hazard nobody cared about. I know it was addressed because I talk to Eric Cox all the time, and you people don't seem to care about people out on there. And it's really sad. We got people that pull out and never stop at stoplights, you know, and nobody's patrolling it. Nobody's watching it. That whole thing. And I know Westview Drive is a city, county, city road. It's really a pain, and I understand all that. But we need to do something. Why not lower the speed limit down to 35? You do down by the reservation on Old 91. They got a 35 instead of a 45. I mean, you'd be surprised how fast people slide down that road. And not to be mean, I used to be one of those bad boys years and years ago, but, you know, I understand what it is, but, you know, public safety anymore, the joggers, people with dogs, nobody uses that little pathway that's been made by four-wheelers and everything. And if nothing else, that should be addressed and cleaned up and made it so people use that. It's part of your master plan, what I understand. That's my concerns. Now, can you answer who's supposed to maintain that?
Well, this isn't designed to be a back and forth.
Okay.
We hear your public comments, and we can take those under review. If you want to get this on the agenda and have it an agenda item, we can go back and forth and talk about it. But this is a chance for the public to comment, and then we listen. And once again, our engineers
I've
here.
talked to him, and he's really not giving me any real answers about it. There's a pile of dirt that's been sitting there for 3 years that they were told to move, and they never have, so you're not enforcing your laws.
And again, you know, my it's part of my responsibility as a liaison with public safety. Let me see if I can address some of those issues.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Thank you.
So my name is Joseph Moore. I'm here with Mary Jo, is the representative of the Rainbow Ranchos community, and I wanted to touch on a couple things that she wasn't able to in her time. I live 2 houses away from this property. We were probably one of the first ones to file a police report because the dogs that were out were actually in my yard, and I had my back. I was working on a car. Luckily, I turned around, and they were creeping up, stalking me. If I wouldn't have turned around, I fear they would have attacked me. Through the course of things, my wife has had incidences with them where they've come and circled her and my dog. Luckily, she was able to keep him at bay. And every time the certain deputies have been a little more helpful than others, but the last time she was basically told, unless it bites somebody, bites the dog, or unless you have video or picture evidence, there's not much that can be done. This is frustrating on our end because when it happens, it's a situation there that you can't get your phone out. You're trying to do this. I have taken to where I carry now when I walk by this place just in case, because I am going to protect myself and my property. The other aspect of this that I want to talk to you about the property itself is my brother served as we have a small water company that encompasses our area. He has served as the chairman of the board of that, and I am actively involved in it. My job doesn't allow me to be part of that board, but I'm closely related there. And from what was understood is when that property has been abandoned, as Mary Jo said, the septic system needs to be reassessed and recertified. We do not believe that has been done, and me living downstream or down where that is, that's a concern to me for my safety, my sanitation, and different things there. So I wanted to bring up again, this has been a situation that is very frustrating, and now we have an animal killed over it. We have not been able to get a lot of actual video verification, because when you see the dogs walking around with livestock in their mouths, whatever, you don't know where it came from, and you're not in a position most of the time to take a picture safely. So I just wanted to bring up these comments as well, in addition to Mary Jo's comments about that.
Sam?
Any questions for me?
If like this gentleman here, if a dog's vicious and is on your property, could you shoot it?
Yes.
Okay.
That is why the one time I was there and they were there.
That's what I'd do.
I was not carrying at that point because it was early on and I didn't know how bad these dogs were. So
yeah, if I had dogs on my property threatening my family or others, yeah,
I'll just add the caveat. I mean, you're not actively seeking out to injure other animals, but
No,
again, if they're
no.
on your property, you have the ability to defend your property.
What about if we're in the roadway, a public roadway, walking around and they are coming circling my wife? Just she's able to kind of keep them away.
It's a fact-intensive situation, so it probably would be okay, but again, you never know what facts may arise from that and what can result, so just use your best judgment.
Yeah, and that's what we've been told by the officers, that if we are, in fear of our lives, we can take appropriate action. And so we know that. That's why I carry when I do these walks. Any other questions?
It's unfortunate you have to do that.
Yeah. Thank you for your time,
Thank
Commissioner.
you very much.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
the prayer today. It was a beautiful prayer. Go ahead.
My name's Eric Atkin. I didn't come here planning a comment, but something came up in the reports, committee report, or whatever it's called. It sounds like the commission and some of the staff will be having some conversations about the travel trailer ordinance and then nuisance. I mean, this discussion is relevant, but out of the public hearing. And I just wanted to give you some thoughts to keep in mind as you're considering those things. I'm familiar with the travel trailer ordinance, and the verbiage I think could probably use some grammatical work, but the principle is sound. I don't think that you should have to have a permit to enjoy your property. There's a difference between misbehavior. We've been talking about these dogs that are a nuisance. Definitely a nuisance, right? That's a real nuisance. It's not a nuisance, and it shouldn't be criminal to enjoy your property and possess your property. Our Utah Constitution says we have the inherent and inalienable right to possess property. In the criminal code, possess is defined as exercise dominion or control. We've gone pretty far into moving dominion and control over our property into the hands of staff at the county or the city or whatever. So I hope you'll keep that in mind as you're looking at these ordinances. I'd appreciate you taking a minute to read through the Section 1 of our Constitution. It's the Declaration of Rights. It's a short read. And our legislature of the state and of the county, that's you guys, right, have gone quite a ways departing from these rights that we have. And I don't think there's conflict with dealing with issues like dogs that are a threat to the public, or sewage that isn't being properly dealt with. But that doesn't imply that you need permission to do things properly on your own property. Does that make sense? So I hope you'll keep that in mind, and remember, the Constitution has in Section 1, it says these provisions are mandatory and prohibitory. And that applies to the legislature, meaning, it's not within your power to undermine these rights that are enumerated in our Constitution. I didn't start my timer. Is that it? So I just hope you'll keep that in mind.
I will just say we have.
Yeah, I'm sure you
There's
do.
been ordinances that have come along, and Terry's shaking his head back there, and there's unintended consequences that happen because of that with some of the challenges that we face. But I happen to agree with you that people have a right to use their property.
I appreciate that. Last month, am I out of time?
Go ahead.
Last month, where I live, we had high density housing imposed upon my area, my community, and a lot of the comments on the planning commission and then on the county commission and from some of the staff were rooted in appeal to property rights, which I am in favor of. And even though I don't like high density housing, perhaps that's the right solution. But you can't have it both ways, where we accommodate development against the general plan, et cetera. And again, we modify ordinances to accommodate these development plans and say that's property rights, but then require permits to enjoy a right that it's inalienable, right? And treat it as criminal behavior to do so. So please keep that in mind, and I appreciate you hearing me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, Luke, we didn't need to vote on that. Did we need to do an action and a vote on that?
It's later.
It's later. It's on later.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. Sorry, I just was quiet.
Hope you're good. My name is Tanner Edwards, also with the Rainbow Ranches community. I'll be brief because they've mostly said everything that I feel like needs to be said, but if nothing else, I hope my presence here just illustrates the significance of where we're at as a neighborhood with the situations that have arisen. One additional thing too is some of the potential legal issues that have been arising at that property as well with law enforcement. It may be a property that's already on their radar. There's been, I know of personally, 2 incidents in the last month where law enforcement has made multiple arrests, or what appears to be multiple detainments or arrests with individuals at that property. With the addition of multiple trailers, the concern is what types of illegal behaviors are potentially occurring. It just raises concerns and for the neighborhood as far as, and I'm not going to try to insinuate anything, but are there drug issues? Are there trafficking issues? Are there other legal ramifications that are kind of being pulled into this property? And with the additional living spaces, is that going to compound and become more of an issue? And so I feel like the concern is getting ahead of it before it becomes too severe or significant of a problem that more safety concerns become a factor. And so I just wanted to add that concern to the topic on this particular property out there as well.
Thank you. In regards to the sewage issue, I'm on the Board of Health, and they're the ones that control the septic systems, leach fields, and so I'll bring that up to them. I've got the address circled here.
And we do have some photo evidence of multiple pipes being installed and attaching at least 2 of the trailers, but there's a third that very likely is also attached into the septic lines and also potentially water lines and things like that. So there's potentially multiple concerns in terms of tying into utilities that are not maybe being addressed either. So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Anything else for me though? Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
I'm going to step out and talk to you guys I'm going to come and get a little bit more information from you really quickly.
Commissioner, this is Richard Wilson. I am speaking as a citizen of a concern that I received this last week, and many people in the county probably did too, as they announced the grand opening of the Dollar Loan Center. I don't know if you noticed in the small print, I don't know when loan sharking became a legal practice in the United States, but the interest rate on a $500 loan is 275%. That's the small print you can hardly read down there. It makes it look pretty inviting to have a daily interest rate of $3.78 on a $500 loan. If you're only going to have it for 5 days, that's less than $20. But can you imagine that we have legalized loan sharking? 275% interest annually is what that calculates out to. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that to yours and the public's notice. And then I wasn't going to speak to this, but I will speak for a moment. Some of you may have read in the national news this last week about the 32-year-old that was rescued in Alabama during a fire. He set his room on fire. He had been held hostage for the last 20 years, since he was 12 years old. He had been in his basement, unable to leave. When the firemen carried him out, they thought that he was a teenager, 5'8", 68 pounds. Sometimes we talk about property rights, but we forget the kids who are forced to live in these situations. that they also need to be protected from perhaps less than caring parents. And so when we look at these situations, there are sometimes children affected. And I think as a society we need to protect them. This neighborhood is appalled and feel that they missed the boat. I'm not criticizing anyone in that neighborhood in Alabama, but can you imagine spending 20 years stuck in your home, locked in a room, and barely fed? I just remind you that when you consider property rights, also consider protecting children from the misdeeds of adults. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, thank you for your comments and input. We will go to number 3, Iron County Veterans Update on the Veterans Arts Center. And Jerry Van Iwarden is presenting.
I'm Jerry Van Iwarden, Vice President of the Southern Utah Veterans Association, and thank you, Commissioners, for allowing us to update you. We have appeared before you previously, and we have notified you that we have the rights to purchase a 20-acre property that is still in the county, and it's on Old 91 and Riverine Road. Is it still Riverine Road, or has that changed? Okay. Yeah, I was up over there the other day, and it looked like a different road. But anyway, it's on the way to KJ's Ice Barn. So we've been moving forward with this, and we have contacted Senator Lee, Senator Curtis, and all of our representatives from the state of Utah. Celeste Malloy has been very helpful and brought us Marionette Miller Meeks from Iowa, who is a representative and on the House Veterans Affairs Committee. So we are getting good vibes all the way around, and we have talked with Senator Vickers, Representative Albrecht, and Representative Shipp. And so what we wanted to do today was we wanted to show you updated conceptual drawings. We have retained an architectural firm, Pacific Design Concepts, and they are going to be doing the work on the plans all the way through the construction documents. And we have started our capital campaign, and so we are in the process of raising money. We're not asking you for money today. And so as soon as you get to be flush from bicycle races, we'll come see you. But anyway, so I'd like to have Chuck Waddell, our president, come speak to you for a moment. And then we'll have Joel Zanders, who will come up and explain some features of the floor plan.
We're waiting for our money trees to mature and start producing.
Well, where is it? And I'll go water it.
Yeah. And I'll help him.
Or have you ground it already up for cabinets?
I'm Chuck Waddell, the president of the Southern Utah Veterans Association. And I just want to say that we're working diligently to get this project off and running, because it's a community project that is going to help everybody in the community, not only the veteran, the senior citizen, this first responder, homeschooled children, and children that attempted suicide. As you well know, we have children as young as 5 years old talking suicide. And we got to get that stopped. And we can do that by what we're doing. And I'm looking real forward to working with everybody here and get this project done. I'm going to turn it over to Joel so he can talk about the floor plan in a little bit more detail, what we're really doing. Joel Sander.
All right. Joel Sander, part of the Veterans Association. I just want to relate a little bit of my own personal experience regarding how these layouts of these rooms are going to really affect and help people that are in need of any assistance. For my perspective, I'm a woodworker, and Paul, you know that the hazards of woodworking can be a bad for you. So what I'm doing is, right now I built my own workshop, a woodworking shop, and I have found that that is my best therapy to get out, use my hands, express any creativities I might have, and then I will, help with Chuck's help and Jerry we're working to, just to help as many people as we can. So if you take some time to study those layouts of the rooms, you'll kind of get an idea of how important I think they are. So, and that's all I had to say. So,
What's your anticipated budget for this?
30 million. Well, you've got 20 acres of property, and if you look at the floor plan itself, which we've given you a copy of, whenever you look at that, that's about 30-some thousand square feet. One of the features, I was talking to the recorder earlier, it will have a central gallery, and we do have a number of artifacts donated by veterans and others that we will display in there. Also, where the property is located, we will have a full-size replica of the Vietnam Wall, as it's in Washington, D.C. That's right there on the site plan. And it will drop down in just like the one in D.C. is, so that you get the full impact, and it is facing directly Interstate 15. And so we're also going to petition Celeste Malloy to get the Enoch North Interchange, along with others that have asked, get it moved up on the calendar because of the growth that's going to be there. One other thing that we have is we have enough property on the parcel that we're purchasing over to the right-hand side of where the Vietnam Wall is. We have room enough and have contacted the Veterans Administration about the possibility of putting a VA clinic there. And so another possibility is that we will build a medical building and then lease suites to the VA. So then also in the back at the very topmost, where Joel's pointing right now, is a 300-seat open-air amphitheater. And so that'll be a great place for concerts and other things that can benefit our community, award ceremonies, all kinds of things can be utilized there. So we're thinking of the whole community whenever we're doing this. And one of the things we know is that people that suffer from PTSD, whether they be veterans or just citizens working in law enforcement or first responders, is they tend to isolate. And that's the most harmful thing. And isolation leads to depression, which oftentimes, unfortunately, leads to people taking their own lives, and we don't want that. And so one of our things that's depicted in the little prospectus I handed out to you is the statue of the PTS man, which you can see it's currently housed in IFA. And Jacob Dean, our local sculptor, did that for us. And so it, of course, has the guy with his hands out, and in one hand is his brain and the other is his heart. And so there's a hole in his chest and a hole in his head, and that depicts what the effects are. So we want to get this moving. And so we're approaching donors at this time, and we already have about $4.5 million designated. And so we've got 30 million that we need, and so we're on the road.
So Jerry, it's one thing to build it, $30 million to build it. What about O&M, operation maintenance?
Okay, so what we have is we already are putting together, we figure it'll cost about close to $1.5 million per year to operate the center. So we have endowments that are available also to continue the operation maintenance. And we have already begun. We've already begun laying this out on what used to be called Microsoft Project, and so we've already got a schedule, master schedule built, and so we have Pacific Design Concepts is working on the actual drawings and getting the design down pat, and then we'll be going to the construction set. Awesome. So it's quite a project.
I'd like to just add one more thing to what I discussed. I mentioned that I built myself a workshop, so I'd go out there and I would isolate. And this facility also meant isolation by people to come in and do their thing, and there'll be others there to talk to and help. You know, we have a lounge area, game area, so there's a lot of opportunity for a lot of people to get benefit from it all.
We think it's probably going to be the real centerpiece of care for people with PTSD in a 5-state area, because there isn't anything else around. You have memorials, you've got all kinds of things, and I was part of the Rotary Bicentennial Veterans Park, and so I think this is going to far surpass that as a place, and it's not residential. It's ambulatory only. So we want people to come and enjoy the crafts, because if we get into housing people, we're in the wrong business. There are people that are dedicated to doing that. We are also creating space for state and federal veteran service officers to be, so that they can handle the stuff with that. We've also got media people that are going to be utilizing this. We already have people that are going to be doing ironworking, woodworking, of course, and then ceramics and sculpture and all kinds of things like that. We also have space for them to be able to sell their products and gain a little bit of notoriety that way.
And one more thing, look what this will do for the community here, for residential people visiting our neighborhood and seeing the wall and having that.
Oh, yeah.
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 It's going to be a big thing for this community.
That's exciting.
Not only just for veterans, but for the whole community.
Well, we know how much work you put into this. We appreciate you guys and what you've done.
It's impressive.
It's neat.
Well, we got more to go, Paul.
I know.
And so, I mean, Chairman Cousins.
Paul's fine.
Okay.
I have other names too.
But do you have any other questions? I think it's quite a striking
That's beautiful.
structure.
That's awesome.
Actually, as it turns out, the lead architect, Jerry Gepperich from Las Vegas, I knew him, or I knew of his work when he was an architect in San Diego. And I was the vice president of an ENR Top 500 company, and so he was aware of my work, the projects that we were building, big federal stuff and private stuff. And so he came up with this outward design, and of course this is looking at it from the main entrance, which is here, and then this is looking at it from the north into the V that the building represents. So we'll have it water-wise landscaped and everything else, and it's going to be a great project and a real addition.
Well, it'll be a real eye catcher from I-15 and a real draw. So that's good.
Yeah.
It'll be really awesome.
And that's what we want to have. That's why we're going to be plugging for the Enoch North interchange as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate
thank
your
you.
presentation.
Questions? Mike?
No, I caught, so I missed the first part, but I've been in contact with these guys kind of all along the way.
Yes.
And I caught the same presentation last week in
Yes, at
the
the
Parowan
City Hall.
Parowan City Council. So
Yeah.
I knew what I was missing when I stepped out to speak to these other folks.
I thought
for a
maybe you're
minute.
just ignoring us, Paul. Mike.
Well, you know, I answer your calls, Jerry.
I know you do.
Thank you very much.
Hey,
Appreciate
thank
you
you very
coming.
much, Iron County Commission.
You know anybody's got some money, send them our way.
Yeah. If you know of somebody that would like to invest in something of this degree, I've given you my cards, and so you can have them contact us, and we'll come talk to them. And we do have naming opportunities at various levels, and of course we do have giving levels, and I think the bottom one is dirt, isn't it? That's about $1. Okay, so we're on the road. And I like the way John Whitaker looks. I really do.
Really gotten better looking. hasn't he?
John, that's a real improvement.
I commented when I came in today. I'm like, your hair's grown.
Is that
Yes. And do you still send out the same corny Facebook stuff? You know?
No. Never has time for that.
Okay. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
thank you,
Commissioner.
guys.
As we get to another major stage, we'll let you know.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, we'll go to agenda item number 4, discussion and approval to increase comprehensive credit limit with State Bank of Southern Utah. Lucas.
Okay, so we're looking at our credit limit with our credit cards countywide. So with State Bank, we have basically 2 separate accounts set up, one for the sheriff's office and then one for the rest of the county. I don't know when the last time this was adjusted. I think it's been quite a while, but we've been looking at it for a year or two. Just for reference, right now we have a limit of $150,000 for the county general account. And so that's, say if everyone maxed out their credit cards, right now we have allocated $250,000 or $215,000 out to all the cards. So if everyone spent that much money on their cards, we would be over our limit because our limit's only $150,000. But we have enough employees and that much with inflation and our increase in credit limits. We have $215,000 allocated out. So looking at that, we want to raise the limit from $150,000 to $225,000. This isn't going to change the budget or anything this year. Everyone's budget's set. It's just say like we have a busy month or during June or whatever month, everyone spends money on their cards. We don't want to go over that limit. In the sheriff's department, we have a limit of $40,000, but right now we have cards allocated up to $75,000. So we're almost double the credit limit there. And that's with a few employees in the process of getting cards as well. So that'll be a little bit higher. So looking at it, I'm proposing we do go up to $80,000 for the sheriff's department and $225,000 for the county general limit. That way we have room to grow and we're not allocating more than what we have right now. So,
okay.
Any questions on that?
No.
Right. When did you say it was last adjusted? You didn't know, or?
I don't know when's the last time it's been adjusted. I would have to see if the bank could maybe look that up. I talked to the bank just to let them know we're looking at it. They said they would just need a resolution or the minutes signed by you guys allowing that increase, and then I can take that to the bank and give it to them. So
I entertain a motion.
I'd move for approval to increase the comprehensive credit limit with State Bank of Southern Utah in the amounts of $80,000 for the sheriff's office side and $225,000 for the general.
Second that motion.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Luke.
Okay.
And I guess you're up on
Am I
this.
up
Is
again?
where Mike answers my
You're
question.
still up.
Presentation on 2025 mid-year budget adjustments and approval of resolution 2025-3, adopting the 2025 budget amendments.
Okay. So yeah, not really much to add as we discussed that. Decreasing the medical costs, adding those new employees, and a couple grants. So yeah, any other questions you guys want to follow up before, or you good?
Sorry, I was just used to my other board meetings where we present it and then approve it. Any questions on this?
Nope.
No.
Entertain a motion.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve the adjustments and approval of resolution 2025-3, adopting the 2025 budget amendments.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Now we'll take our commission hats off and convene as the Board of Equalization and go to agenda item number 6, which is the discussion and possible approval of 2025 property tax exemptions, which have been submitted by religious, educational, or charitable organization requesting tax exempt status on personal or real property for the 2025 tax year. Michaela, thank you.
Hello. I'll have you guys sign my copy. So whatever I just handed you is yours to keep. The first couple pages there is all the properties that we have that are exempt, religious, charitable, educational. If you go to the next little paper, that's all of our new applications for this year. The Cedar City Housing Authority has a couple. Cannon Creek Women's Crisis Center added a few. And then Cedar Charter Holders, which is actually going to be American Preparatory Academy. They are leasing a building, and so according to state statute, they can be exempt on the property taxes because they're leasing for the school. But other than that, everything else was the same. Hopefully I won't have too many more to add. I did have an envelope come in the mail today, postmarked February 10th. So I may be getting more. Yeah. Other than that, that's my thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Any questions on this from the commission?
Nope. So I will move for possible approval. I'll just move for the approval of 2025 property tax exemptions, which have been submitted by religious, educational, and charitable organizations requesting a tax exempt status on personal or real property for the 2025 tax year as presented by the auditor's office.
I'd second that motion.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Michaela. Appreciate that. We'll now reconvene as the Iron County Commission and go to personnel. Number 7, Jennifer.
Hello. In the Council on Aging Department, Cyrus Naon was selected from the most recent competitive interview and selection process to backfill the vacant part-time Meals on Wheels driver position, effective 3/31 of 2025. And Victoria Garcia was selected from the most recent competitive interview and selection process to fill the newly approved part-time front desk attendant position, effective 3/18 of 2025. In the Sheriff's Office Patrol, Patricia Horstein was selected from the most recent competitive interview and selection process to backfill the vacant part-time animal shelter technician position, effective 3/17/2025. And Charles Day, Eric Roman, and Dean Monteleone were selected from an internal posting and interview process to receive a promotion from full-time deputies to full-time patrol corporals beginning 3/16 of 2025. In the Road Department, Clint Goodman was selected from the most recent recruiting and interview process to backfill the vacant full-time roads maintenance worker 1 position, effective 3/31 of 2025. And in the Children's Justice Center, with the vacancy of the director of the center, County Attorney Chad Dotson was requesting to have Susan Carter, who is the office manager for the attorney's office, to serve as the interim director while we navigate through the recruitment process, and that would be effective 3/16 of 2025.
Any questions on that?
No.
Okay, entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the personnel changes as outlined in the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank
Motion
you.
carries. Thank you, Jennifer.
Hey, I have a question though. Did we approve in budget time an animal control officer or just shelter staff?
Just shelters. Well, we converted a part-time to a full-time position, and I believe Ray is, and he
Okay.
does have some abilities. I know that he was,
That's right.
I don't know if he was
We
deputized
just
or
changed him from part-time
From
to
part-time to
full-time. I
full-time.
think
I couldn't
that's all
remember
we
what we did. I knew we did
Yes.
something in animal
Yeah.
control, but I couldn't remember what we did.
Yeah, in this particular position, the part-timer is moving on. I think he's finishing school, and so he's leaving, I think, next week or the week
They
after
have
that.
Ray and then this one.
And this next one, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. All right, anything with county boards? I noticed a text from
Reed.
Reed.
Did he want that done today?
We could. I think we ought to just approve it. I mean, Lane Sutherland stepped down from the planning commission, and Dennis Gray has expressed interest in that position, and I fully support that. I don't know how you two feel, but
I'm fine.
I'd
with
be
that.
all right with that.
So
Absolutely.
I'd say I'd entertain a motion to make that change, and I assume I didn't see any other names, so I'd just assume we go ahead and take care of that.
I'll move to install Dennis Gray as a member of the planning commission.
Second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to install Dennis Gray on the planning commission. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. You're his liaison, right? So you'll let him know.
Yep.
Thank you. We were going to have a little bit of a closed session today, but I don't think that's going to be necessary. Our attorney texted and said that he's not available at this time. So we'll schedule that for another day.
Right.
Anything else? I think that covers it. So Chair declares this meeting adjourned. Thank you. Appreciate your attendance.